I wanted to share a little bit of a glimpse of the few days we had recently with our friends who live in a yurt right on the ocean, and it's just so gorgeous. Their setup is a big kind of open plan square as their living area, and then a little sort of bit of decking that leads down to a beautiful 7-meter yurt, which is their bedroom. I was really glad to have that footage to share with you, because actually the truth is, since returning from that little weekend with our friends, we've had a fairly miserable couple of weeks. I don't think I've captured a single thing with my camera because it's all so bleak around here these days. I don't want to have a big whinge fest, but I really do want to be real, because one of the major problems with the internet these days is that it's very easy to give the impression that your life is perfect, that you're happy all the time, that everything flows, that everything's beautiful, and it's absolutely not true. The things you see on Instagram and the things you see on YouTube are only a tiny portion of someone's life. They're the show reel of that person's life, and I would hate for you guys to think that we have got it sorted. So today I'm gonna be really upfront about why things are so bleak at the moment, and why sometimes actually living in a yurt is not anything close to perfect. So I think that lots of us find winter hard, right? You know, I mean, rain's a lot more, it's a lot colder, you tend to stay inside a lot more, and I think my whole life I've had a bit of a, you know, that seasonal affective disorder. You know, I've had a strong difference between my happiness levels in the summer and them in the winter, but usually I can kind of cope with it, and one of the ways we cope with it is by being really kind to ourselves, planning lots of lovely adventures and having things to look forward to sort of plotted through the winter. But for the last 2 weeks, Ramona has been really sick. She's had this horrendous cough and head cold thing. Last night she had earache. We were up until 1 a.m. trying to soothe her and help her ear calm down. So we've had to cancel heaps of our plans, and last week we had planned to walk into the mountain for like a 2-day sleepover up on the mountain with our friends, and we had been planning for it for ages. We were so excited, and the day before we just had to say we can't do it because Ramona is so sick. We never ever would have made it to the hut. Oh, and that really kind of sunk me into like a bit of a depressive state, to be honest, and for the last few days I've just been like moping around so glum, and I'm trying all my usual things like meditating and journaling and all that stuff to try and pull myself out of it, but this sense of just glumness is just like this ever-ready companion just sort of sitting in my belly. And I'm not worried about it because I know that it will change. I know in a couple of days it's gonna lift. It's not like this heavy cloud that has descended and is not gonna shift. So I'm not worried about it, but I do want to be open about, you know, how I'm a little bit melancholy at the moment, and it freaking sucks. Having a few days of sorrow here and there is part of the human condition, and we need to feel into it and, you know, get to know it and not rush it. And it's just part of the beautiful plethora of human emotion. But amongst all of this is this sense of foreboding about the mould in the yurt. I've mentioned this a little bit before about how it's one of the downsides of living in a yurt is that you get a little bit of mould. And when I say a little bit, I'm talking about, you know, whole meters of canvas being really quite covered in mould. And Tim recently read that black mould is carcinogenic, and with a bit more further research I can't see that that's been proven, but I can see that black mould is one of the major causes of ongoing sickness. But things like coughing, sneezing, being full up with cold, all of those are symptoms of having too much mould in your place. One of the reasons yurts are so susceptible to mould is because of the disparity of the temperature of the air inside and the air outside, with very little insulation between them. So we're up in a yurt every day and every night letting off moisture with our bodies, and when it hits the canvas, and the canvas is a different temperature, little beads of condensation happen, and we see the condensation all over the yurt nearly all winter. It can get really quite damp in there, and after a while these little droplets turn into mould. So we know what we can do about it. We absolutely know that we should have more insulation around our yurt. That is the number one thing that would help. But also something we can do right now every day is to open our windows and crank the fire in order to really ventilate the yurt and move the air through swiftly so that we're constantly getting fresh air in there. So on a sunny day like today, that's what we need to do. We need to open everything, crank the fire, and really that's what's going to help. But meanwhile, we have mould all over our canvas. Because our canvas is a plastic material, it's not this beautiful natural canvas which we have here in the little yurt, we can actually just wipe it off. So it's not too daunting. Apart from that, all of our stuff is in the yurt. So at this stage, we're thinking of all of us moving out and then Tim coming back and just basically cleaning every inch of the canvas. It's gonna be a really huge job because it involves moving all of our furniture, or maybe we'll get woofers or something like that. It's a pretty gross job though. But I think once we sort the mould out in our yurt, we'll feel heaps more at peace with even the sickness that we have, because we won't have this constant buzz like we're making our children sick by living this life. We do have a few exciting things coming up, like we're doing some tree plantings in the next few weeks to start getting our 4,000 trees in. You can still buy a tree to plant in our forest if you want to do that. So we've got tree plantings. We're also going to the snow with a bunch of life learners, and we're also going on a hot pool camp where a whole bunch of us just turn up at the hot pools and swim for a weekend. So I'm desperately hoping that we can kick this sickness and that it doesn't just pass from Ramona to Juno to me to Tim, which is, you know, often what does happen. So I'm massively praying that we don't get locked in a cycle of sickness, that we can just boost it. At the moment, I've got a plan of emptying out my charcoal. I've got capsules that are filled with charcoal that, you know, me and Tim eat if we have a tummy bug or something. I'm thinking about emptying the charcoal out and filling it with raw garlic and getting Ramona, because she quite enjoys eating capsules, and filling it with raw garlic as a way of getting her, you know, raw garlic, because that's basically my remedy for everything, is just raw garlic. Yeah. Any other tips you've got, send them my way. They can't involve disgusting things because Ramona is not into disgusting things in the way that I am. So hit me up with your remedies. Heaps of fun stuff happening over on Patreon at the moment. I'll be sharing chapters of my upcoming book as I write them. It's our life story from South London to a yurt in New Zealand. I'm sharing chapters of that with the $10 and up patrons. And there's an amazing live stream planned for August with this beautiful, amazing parenting guru called Ruth Beaglehole. So heaps of fun stuff over on Patreon. Come along and check that out. Thanks for all that beautiful love that you guys showered on us last week with that video with me and Tim. We had heaps of fun recording it, so it was really cool to see that you guys had fun watching it as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope this hasn't been too miserable. But like I say, I want to be completely honest with you guys, lest you believe that we live in paradise all year round. We really, really don't. Just a few months of the year. Much love to you guys, and stay radical. Mwah.